Okay, so now we're going to measure for our head sail with the boat off the rig. We get this from clients all the time that because their boat is taken to pieces, they can't measure the max luff of the sail. The max luff is really the most important, whether it's a furling head sail or a standard Hank-on sail. This was going to tell us how long that luff can be when it's all maxed out. And then I'm going to take all the reductions that we need as far as stretch over time, allowing room for you to trim the sail, etc. So assuming that we're going to assume that we're building a standard Hank-on sail at this point. It doesn't really matter if it's Hank-on, zipper luff, or just a foil standard sail, but just something that's not furling. And so what we're going to start by doing is measuring the turnbuckle, because obviously we can't have a hank that sits over top of this. I'm just going to measure from where it's going to attach on the deck to where the first hank can sit at the base of the luff of the sail. So here you are, JB, if you just want to grab that. There we go, thank you. And here we go, top of the turnbuckle, exactly 1 foot. So turnbuckles can vary in size, often depending on the diameter of the wire or the size of your boat. In which case, this one though sits exactly 1 feet, and that's going to mean that the first hank of the sail is going to have to be higher than 1 foot on the luff. Honestly, we're probably going to put the first hank more like 1.5, maybe even 2 feet. Depending on where we're positioning the sail, if we're trying to go to the pulpit, etc. But this just gives us an idea of the minimum that it sits, so that we make sure that we get the first hank in at least the minimum position for you. The next thing we're going to do is measure the actual forestay, and you can see this is attached up top here. We're going to leave it on the mast, and then if the forestay is off completely, I would suggest finding somewhere that you can attach it so you can get a little bit of tension to the wire. Just going to pass that to JB. Of course, when you're measuring these with off the rig, it always does help to have a second person. If you don't, using tape or attaching things to places will suffice. And I'll just get you to walk that out, JB, and to give it a little bit of tension on the forestay. So now we're going to measure the forestay. So we have JB here. He's giving a little bit of tension to this wire, and he's holding the measuring tape where it attaches at the deck. I'm going to measure up to the top of the forestay here, 24 1.5 inches, and I'm not taking it right to where it attaches in, just to the top of the wire. And really what that's telling me is that's where the last hank could be. It's not going to be all the way to the top here, and that's because realistically, as you hoist it, you've got your halyard here, and there's going to be a bit of place. Don't worry too much about that. We'll take reductions for that, and your sail is going to sit probably 6 to 10 inches below the top of the forestay regardless. So I'm not too worried about that. If you do have a rig for some reason where the halyard sits significantly lower, this is a really good place to take a picture. Let us know how she sits just in your notes. But in general, as far as what we need, just give us the forestay measurement. Again, just going to pull it nice and taut there, 24 1/2 inch, and that'll be great. Okay, so now we're going to measure the fore triangle height. And the fore triangle height, what we're really doing here is we're just trying to ascertain that your rigging matches or is close to rig specs. Generally they will be, but it's very common, especially with small boats, that people are going to customize them. Maybe the mast got damaged in a storm, had to be replaced. I mean, this boat is probably from the 70s or 80s, so it's been in the water for over 40 years. When the boats are replaced or rigging is replaced, often people just replace it with what they have available, which might be different. So what we're trying to confirm here is that it's going to match around rig spec. So what you're going to do is just take a measurement. You can see JB's got it at the base of the mast, and we're just going to measure along the forefront of the mast to where the halyard comes out. And I've got it at 21 feet, 9.5 inches. I'm just going to let this slack a little bit, make sure that JB's holding it properly. Hold it in. Again, just double check the measurement. 21 feet, 9.5 inches. So, so now next step for that is we're actually going to measure the cabin top. And the reason is the eye measurement actually isn't to the base of the mast. It's a very common misconception. Where it's going is at deck height. So We're just gonna furl this in real quick. So, as I was saying, the eye measurement or your four triangle height actually goes to the deck height, not to the cabin top. It's a very common misconception. So what we're going to be doing, now that we've taken the length of the forefront of the mast, we're also going to take the height of the cabin top. And we can see this cabin top is 1 feet. So we just add that onto the four triangle height. That gives us we just add that onto the fore of the mast. That gives us our proper eye measurement. And when I look at the rig specs, we can make sure that they match, and that tells us that the rigging of the boat is close to rig spec or slightly different. Okay, so now we're going to be taking the four triangle base or your J measurement, and again we're just checking to make sure that the boat matches rig specs. Sometimes the mast will be adjustable fore and aft, or people have had the rigging changed and they've just based off of weather helm or what have you, they've decided to place the mast slightly different from where they had it originally. So we're just going to measure from where the forestay attaches on the deck in a straight line, and I've got 7'10". Again, I'm just going to let it slack, attach it again, give it a little tension. 7'10" to the front of the mast attachment here. Don't go to the back, don't go to the middle. Make sure it's just to the front of the mast. Well, you got it attached to the forestay attachment at the deck. This is a great time to take your track measurements. So we still have it attached up there, just in a straight line, again, out to the front of the track. So I have 8 feet 8 inches, and then continue on to the back of the track, 9 feet 10 inches. So honestly, that's simple. Now, what we're going to do is we use the deck as our baseline, and in order for me to ascertain the proper sheeting angle and clew height, we need to know how high up this is going to sit off the deck. Now, we've already measured that for the four triangle, and we know that it's 1 foot. So that means that as we're measuring, as I'm designing, I'm going to lift the track up by 1 feet, so I know how high to put your clew and a 40-degree sheeting angle, where it's going to sit approximately on your track.